The $60,000 car screeched to a halt 6 inches from a child. Ethan Ripley's heart slammed against his ribs as his hands white-knuckled the steering wheel of his Mercedes. The coffee in the cup holder had exploded across the leather interior, but he barely noticed. All he could see was the little girl standing in the middle of Park Avenue, her tiny frame trembling, her face streaked with tears. She wasn't moving, just standing there, in the middle of rush hour traffic. Behind him, horns blared. A taxi swerved around them, the driver screaming obscenities. The morning sun cut through the windshield, blinding him for a moment, but when his vision cleared, he saw what she was holding. A puppy, small, white, motionless, blood on her yellow raincoat. Jesus Christ, Ethan Ripley. He threw the car into park and bolted out, his $1,000 shoes hitting the wet pavement. The girl's eyes, wide, terrified, desperate, locked onto his. She couldn't have been more than 7 years old. Her dark hair was plastered to her face from the rain that had stopped just minutes ago. "Mister," she choked out, her voice breaking. "Mister, please, can you save her?" The puppy in her arms wasn't moving. Its white fur was matted with blood, one tiny leg bent at an unnatural angle. Ethan's stomach turned. "Hey, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad you're here for this story. It's going to grip your heart from start to finish. Real quick, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button, because trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. This story? It's going to wreck you in the best way possible. Now, back to Ethan and that little girl. Ethan Ripley was not the kind of man who stopped for anything. He had meetings, conference calls, a merger that would close before lunch and net his company another 8 figures. His morning was planned down to the minute, every second accounted for, every movement calculated. But there was something about the way she looked at him, like he was her last hope, like the world had already told her no 1,000 times, and he was her final chance at yes. "Okay," he heard himself say. "Okay, get in the car." The girl didn't hesitate. She clutched the puppy tighter and ran to the passenger side. Ethan's driver, Rodriguez, a man who'd worked for him for 5 years, was already out of the vehicle, helping the girl into the back seat. "Sir, you're 9 o'clock. Cancel it." Ethan snapped, sliding back behind the wheel. "But Mr. Whitmore is flying in from—" "I said cancel it." Rodriguez nodded, pulling out his phone as Ethan gunned the engine. The Mercedes lurched forward, weaving through traffic with a precision that made the girl gasp in the back seat. "What's your name?" Ethan asked, his eyes flicking to the rearview mirror. "Lily," she whispered. "Lily Corleone. And this," her voice cracked, "this is Daisy. The puppy. Its name was Daisy. Where are your parents, Lily?" She didn't answer, just stared down at the tiny creature in her arms, her tears dripping onto white fur. Ethan's jaw tightened. He grabbed his phone from the center console, barking at his assistant the moment she picked up. "Jennifer, I need the closest emergency veterinary hospital. Now." "Sir, you heard me. Send the address to my GPS 30 seconds. He ended the call before she could respond. The city blurred past them. Red lights became suggestions. Stop signs became mere decorations. Ethan Ripley, the man who'd built a tech empire worth billions, who'd been featured on the cover of Forbes 3 times, who hadn't taken an unscheduled moment in 7 years, was driving like a madman through Manhattan to save a puppy he'd met 60 seconds ago. "She's not breathing right," Lily said, her voice small and terrified. "Mister, she's not. She's going to be fine," Ethan said, though he had no idea if that was true. "What happened to her?" "A car," Lily whispered. "It was going so fast. She ran into the street and her words dissolved into sobs. Ethan's phone chimed. The GPS lit up with a route. 7 minutes away. He could make it in 4. The Mercedes roared through an intersection, barely missing a delivery truck. Rodriguez had gone silent in the passenger seat, his knuckles white as he gripped the door handle. "Sir, if I may." "You may not." Ethan's mind was racing. Why was he doing this? He had a board meeting in 45 minutes, a call with Tokyo in an hour. His entire day was collapsing around him because of a little girl and a dying puppy. But every time he looked in that mirror, Every time he saw Lily's face, streaked with tears, twisted with hope and fear, he pressed the accelerator harder. 3 minutes. Stay with me, Daisy, Lily was whispering in the back seat. Please stay with me. Please. The GPS announced their arrival just as Ethan spotted the building, a modern clinic with floor-to-ceiling windows and a blue emergency sign. He didn't bother with the parking lot. He drove straight up to the entrance, threw the car in a park, and was out the door before the engine stopped running. Come on, he shouted. Lily scrambled out, the puppy limp in her arms. Ethan grabbed the clinic door and yanked it open, holding it as she ran inside. I need a doctor, he bellowed. Now. The receptionist looked up, startled. Sir, you need to... Now. A woman in blue scrubs emerged from a back room, her eyes going wide when she saw the blood, the child, the puppy. Exam room 2, she said. Quickly. They ran. The next 5 minutes were a blur. The vet, Dr. Sarah Connor, according to her name tag, took the puppy from Lily's arms with gentle efficiency. She laid Daisy on a steel table under bright lights. Her hands moved with practiced speed, checking vitals, assessing injuries, barking orders to a young assistant who appeared from nowhere. Lily stood frozen, her hands still outstretched where Daisy had been, her body shaking. Without thinking, Ethan put a hand on her shoulder. She looked up at him with those enormous, terrified eyes, and something in his chest cracked open. Is she going to die? Lily whispered. Dr. Connor didn't look up from her work. Not if I can help it. And Ethan Ripley, billionaire, workaholic, man who hadn't felt anything real in years, realized he'd do anything to make sure that was true. Anything. Drop a comment below if you're already hooked, because trust me, this is just the beginning. Dr. Sarah Connor worked in focused silence, her hands steady as she inserted in 4 into the puppy's tiny leg. Ethan watched from the doorway, one hand still resting on Lily's shoulder. The little girl hadn't moved, hadn't breathed, hadn't blinked. Internal bleeding, Dr. Connor murmured to her assistant. Possible fracture in the left hind leg. Prep for surgery. Surgery. Lily's voice was barely a whisper. The vet finally looked up, her green eyes soft but honest. She's hurt badly, sweetheart, but she's a fighter. I can see it. Lily nodded, tears streaming down her face. This is going to take a few hours, Dr. Connor said, looking directly at Ethan now. You two should wait in the lobby. I'll update you every step of the way. Can I stay with her? Lily asked. I need space to work, honey. But I promise, I'll take care of her like she's my own. There was something in the doctor's voice that made Ethan believe her. A warmth, a certainty. He gently guided Lily toward the door. Come on, he said quietly. Let's let the doctor do her job. Lily looked back one last time at Daisy's small white form on that steel table, then followed Ethan into the waiting room. The lobby was surprisingly quiet for a Friday morning. Soft classical music played from hidden speakers. The walls were painted a calming sage green. Ethan guided Lily to a cushioned bench near the window and sat down beside her. She was so small. Her yellow raincoat was too big for her, the sleeves rolled up multiple times. Her sneakers were worn, the laces frayed. There was a patch sewn on her jeans, a clumsy repair job, done with mismatched thread. Details Ethan Ripley wouldn't have noticed a year ago. Details he trained himself not to see. Thank you, Lily said suddenly, for stopping, for bringing us here. Of course, Ethan replied, though the words felt hollow. When was the last time he'd stopped for anyone? Most people don't stop, she continued, staring at her hands. While I was standing there, 3 cars went around me. One man yelled at me to get out of the road. Her voice dropped to a whisper. But you stopped. Something twisted in Ethan's chest. Sharp, uncomfortable. Where do you live, Lily? I need to call your parents. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, I don't have parents. Not anymore. The words hung in the air between them. I live at Sunshine Haven, she continued. It's a shelter. Miss Patricia takes care of me. And 12 other kids. Sunshine Haven. The name hit Ethan like a freight train. He knew that name. Knew it because he'd seen it in a report 3 months ago. A funding proposal his CFO had rejected. Not aligned with our core mission, the memo had said. recommend redirecting resources to higher impact initiatives. He'd signed off on it without a second thought. "Does Ms. Patricia know where you are?" he asked, his throat suddenly tight. Lily shook her head. "I snuck out early. I was looking for Daisy. She ran away last night, and I was so scared something bad would happen, and—" her voice broke. "And something bad did happen. If you're feeling the weight of this moment, drop a heart emoji in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe. This story is about to take you places you won't expect." Ethan pulled out his phone. "What's the shelter's number?" Lily recited it from memory. He dialed. A woman answered on the third ring, her voice frantic. "Sunshine Haven, this is Patricia." "Miss Patricia, my name is Ethan Ripley. I have Lily Corleone with me. She's safe." The sound that came through the phone was half sob, half gasp. "Oh, thank God. Thank God. I've been looking everywhere. Where is she?" "Park Avenue Emergency Veterinary Clinic. There was an accident with her dog." "Daisy? Oh no. Is Lily hurt?" "No, she's fine. Just shaken up. I'll be right there. 10 minutes. Please, please don't let her leave." "She's not going anywhere," Ethan said, and meant it. When he hung up, Lily was watching him with those enormous eyes. "Is Miss Patricia mad?" "She's worried. There's a difference." Lily nodded slowly, then turned to look out the window at the street beyond. "Daisy was my birthday present," she said quietly. "Miss Patricia saved up for 3 months to get her from the shelter. She said every kid deserves something that's just theirs." She wiped at her eyes. "I've only had her for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And the little girl was willing to stand in traffic, to face down rush hour, to do whatever it took to save her." When was the last time Ethan had fought for something that mattered? His phone buzzed. Jennifer, his assistant. The text was exactly what he expected. "Asterisk board meeting in 20 minutes. Mr. Whitmore is asking for you. Everything okay?" Asterisk. He stared at the message for a long moment. Then he typed back, "Tell him I'll be late." Something came up. He powered off his phone completely. Rodriguez appeared in the doorway, looking uncertain. "Sir, I have a CFO on the line. He says it's urgent. Tell him I'm unavailable. He says the Tokyo deal." I said I'm unavailable. Ethan's voice was steel. "And Rodriguez? Clear my schedule for the rest of the day." His driver's eyebrows shot up. "The entire day, sir?" "You heard me." Rodriguez nodded and disappeared back outside. Ethan turned back to Lily. She was watching him with a curious expression. "You're important, aren't you?" she asked. "Like really important. Everyone keeps calling you." "I run a company," he said simply. "What kind of company?" "Technology. Software. We make programs that help other businesses work better." "Oh." She processed this. "Do you like it?" The question was so innocent, so direct, that it caught him completely off guard. Did he like it? He'd spent 15 years building Ripley Technologies from the ground up. 15 years of 18-hour days, missed holidays, sacrificed relationships. He'd revolutionized data analytics, disrupted 3 major industries, created something that mattered. But did he like it? "I don't know," he heard himself say, and the honesty of it shocked him. Lily tilted her head. "My mom used to say that life's too short to do things that don't make your heart happy." She looked down at her hands. "She died when I was 4. Cancer. I'm sorry." "Me too." She was quiet for a moment. "My dad died 2 years later. Accident. That's when I went to Sunshine Haven. 7 years old and already orphaned twice." Ethan couldn't imagine it. "Miss Patricia says that sad things happen," Lily continued, "but we get to choose what we do after. We can be sad forever, or we can find new ways to be happy." She looked up at him. "Daisy makes me happy. Even when everything else is hard, she makes me happy." Before Ethan could respond, the door burst open. A woman rushed in, 50-something, with graying hair pulled back in a messy bun, wearing jeans and a Sunshine Haven t-shirt. Her face was flushed, her eyes red. "Lily!" The little girl jumped up and ran into her arms. And Ethan Ripley watched them embrace, watched this woman hold this child like she was precious, like she was loved, like she mattered more than anything in the world. And something inside him, something he'd buried deep years ago, began to wake up. Patricia held Lily at arm's length, her hands trembling as she checked the girl for injuries. "Don't you ever, ever Do that again. Do you understand me? I am sorry, Lily sobbed. But Daisy was out there, and I couldn't just... I know, baby. I know. Patricia pulled her close again, then looked up at Ethan. Her eyes were sharp, assessing. You're the one who called? Ethan Ripley. He stood, extending his hand. She shook it firmly. Patricia Mueller. Thank you for keeping her safe. Her gaze dropped to his designer suit, his expensive watch, then back to his face. Something flickered in her expression. Recognition, maybe, or suspicion. Ripley, as in Ripley Technologies. His stomach tightened. Yes. Her jaw set. She didn't say anything else, but the temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Before the awkward silence could stretch further, Dr. Connor emerged from the back, pulling off her surgical gloves. Everyone turned toward her. She's stable, the vet said, and Lily gasped with relief. The surgery went well. We repaired the internal bleeding and set her leg. She's going to need several weeks of recovery, but she should make a full recovery. Can I see her? Lily asked. She's still under anesthesia, but yes. Come on back. Lily grabbed Patricia's hand and practically dragged her toward the exam rooms. Patricia threw one more unreadable look at Ethan before disappearing through the doorway. Dr. Connor lingered, studying Ethan with curious eyes. That was a good thing you did. Bringing her in when you did probably saved that puppy's life. Just happened to be there, Ethan said, uncomfortable with the praise. Most people would have driven around her. Called animal control, maybe. She crossed her arms. You didn't. He had no response to that. The bill's going to be significant, Dr. Connor continued. Emergency surgery, medications, follow-up care. We're looking at around $3,000. $3,000. Pocket change to him. A fortune to a shelter running on donations. I'll cover it, he said immediately. Dr. Connor's eyebrows rose. That's generous. It's nothing. It's not nothing to them. She paused. You know who they are, don't you? Sunshine Haven. I know, he said quietly. Do you? There was an edge to her voice now. Because 6 months ago, they brought in a cat that had been hit by a car. Patricia scraped together $200 for the treatment. $200 she probably needed for food or electricity or God knows what else. She stepped closer. And then 3 months ago, I heard their funding got cut. Some big tech company that used to donate pulled their support. The words landed like punches. Ethan's company. His signature. His decision. I didn't, he started, then stopped. Because what could he say? He didn't know. He didn't care. Both were true, and both were damning. Drop a comment if you think Ethan's about to have a serious wake-up call. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time. This story is about to shift in a major way. Dr. Connor's expression softened slightly. Look, I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm just saying, sometimes we don't see the impact of our choices until it's standing right in front of us. She glanced toward the exam rooms. That little girl? She's been through hell. Lost her parents. Living in a system that barely has resources to keep the lights on. But Patricia? She gives those kids everything. Love, stability, hope. Her voice dropped. Daisy isn't just a puppy to Lily. She's proof that good things can still happen. That she's worth loving. The words hit Ethan square in the chest. I'll pay the bill, he said again. And I'd like to make a donation to Sunshine Haven. A significant one. Dr. Connor studied him for a long moment. Money's good. But you know what will be better? Actually showing up. These kids, they need people who see them. Who stay. Before he could respond, she turned and walked back toward the exam rooms. Ethan stood there, alone in the waiting room, feeling like the ground had shifted beneath his feet. His phone was still off. His board meeting was probably in chaos. Whitmore was likely furious. The Tokyo deal might be falling apart. And for the first time in 7 years, he didn't care. 20 minutes later, Patricia emerged with Lily. The little girl's face was brighter now, though her eyes were still red and swollen. She's sleeping, Lily announced. But Dr. Connor says I can visit her every day until she comes home. That's wonderful, honey, Patricia said, though her smile was strained. She looked at Ethan. Thank you again for your help, Mr. Ripley. We should get going. The other kids will be worried. Wait. Ethan stepped forward. The bill. I've taken care of it. Everything, including the follow-up care. Patricia's expression hardened. That's not necessary. It is. We don't need your charity. The word stung because it was exactly what it was. Charity. Guilt money. A band-aid on a wound he'd helped create. It's not charity, he said, though they both knew he was lying. Let me do this. Please. Patricia's jaw worked. She looked down at Lily, who was watching the exchange with confused eyes. Fine, Patricia finally said. Thank you. But there was no warmth in her voice. No gratitud. Just cold acceptance. She took Lily's hand and started toward the door. Ms. Mueller, Ethan called out. Patricia. She stopped but didn't turn around. I'd like to visit Sunshine Haven. See the facility. Meet the kids. The words tumbled out before he'd fully formed the thought. If that's okay. Now she turned, her eyes narrowed. Why? Because I want to help. Really help. Not just write a check. You want to help? Patricia's voice was sharp. Your company cut our funding 3 months ago. We lost 40% of our operating budget. We've had to let go of 2 staff members. Our after-school program got canceled. We're rationing food, Mr. Ripley. Rationing. She took a step toward him. So forgive me if I'm skeptical about your sudden desire to help. Lily was staring up at Patricia, then at Ethan, her small face confused and worried. I didn't know, Ethan said, his voice low. I should have, but I didn't. That's the problem, isn't it? People like you make decisions in boardrooms about programs you've never seen, kids you've never met. You reduce human lives to line items in a budget. Patricia's voice cracked slightly. Do you know how many kids we've had to turn away in the last 3 months? 15. 15 children who needed a safe place, and we had to say no because we didn't have the resources. The silence that followed was crushing. I was wrong, Ethan said quietly. I can't undo that decision, but I can make a different one now. Patricia studied him for what felt like an eternity. Then she reached into her pocket, pulled out a card, and handed it to him. We're on East 47th Street, she said. If you're serious, and I mean actually serious, not just feeling guilty because a 7-year-old made you have feelings, come by tomorrow. 3 o'clock. See what you... Ethan didn't go back to the office. Rodriguez drove him home in silence, stealing glances in the rearview mirror every few minutes. Ethan ignored him, staring out the window at the city passing by. Everything looked different somehow. Sharper, more real. His penthouse apartment was exactly as he'd left it that morning. Immaculate, minimalist, cold. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Central Park. The furniture was designer. The art was expensive. Everything was perfect, and it all felt completely empty. He dropped his briefcase by the door and walked to the window. Somewhere out there, Lily was back at a shelter his company had defunded. Daisy was recovering from surgery. Patricia Mueller was probably figuring out how to stretch resources that were already stretched too thin. And he'd been worried about a merger. His phone, still powered off, sat heavy in his pocket. He knew what was waiting for him when he turned it on. Angry messages from a board. Frustrated text from his CFO. Probably a few passive-aggressive emails from Whitmore about wasting his time. He powered on anyway. 43 missed calls. 67 messages. 12 voicemails. He ignored all of them and dialed Jennifer instead. She answered immediately. Mr. Ripley, thank God. We've been trying to reach you all morning. The board meeting was a disaster. Whitmore left. He's threatening to pull out of the deal entirely. Mr. Chin wants to know what's going on. And Tokyo. Jennifer, he interrupted. I need you to pull a file for me. Silence. Then, sir, 3 months ago, we rejected a funding proposal from an organization called Sunshine Haven. I need the full report. The original proposal, our analysis, everything. Okay. May I ask why? Because I'm reversing the decision. Another pause. Sir, I don't think that's how it works. The CFO will need to review. I don't care what the CFO needs. Give me the file. And, Jennifer, clear my calendar for the next week. The entire week? But the Tokyo deal will wait. Or it won't. Either way, I'm not available. He ended the call before she could protest. The file arrived in his email 30 minutes later. Ethan poured himself a scotch, rare for him before noon, and started reading. The original proposal from Sunshine Haven had been comprehensive. Patricia Mueller had requested $150,000 annually to continue their after-school programs, maintain their facility, and hire additional counseling staff for trauma-informed care. She'd included statistics. 92% of their kids graduated high school. 78% went on to college or vocational training. 0% ended up in the juvenile justice system. The outcomes were remarkable. Ripley Technologies' response had been clinical. Cold. Organization does not align with our core mission of technology advancement and innovation. Recommend reallocation of funds to STEM education initiatives with measurable ROI. ROI. Return on investment. Like children were stocks. Like love was a spreadsheet. And he'd signed it. Barely glanced at it, really. Just another decision in an endless stream of decisions. Ethan closed his laptop and finished his scotch in one burning swallow. That night, he couldn't sleep. He kept seeing Lily's face. The way she'd stood in the middle of traffic, so small and so brave. The way she'd looked at him with those desperate eyes. Asterisk, mister. Can you save her? Asterisk. When had someone last looked at him like that? Like he was capable of good? Like he mattered for something beyond his net worth? He got out of bed at 2 in the morning and opened his laptop again. He started researching. Sunshine Haven. Patricia Mueller. Child welfare statistics. Outcomes for children in the foster system. The impact of underfunding on social services. The numbers were staggering and damning. By sunrise, Ethan had made several decisions. If you're up late reading this too, drop a comment letting me know what time it is where you are. And don't forget to subscribe. You'll want to see where this is headed. At 2:45 p.m. the next day, Ethan stood outside a 3-story brick building on East 47th Street. The paint was peeling. The windows were old but clean. A hand-painted sign above the door read, Sunshine Haven, in cheerful yellow letters. It looked nothing like his boardroom, nothing like his world. He took a breath and knocked. Patricia opened the door. She didn't look surprised to see him. You came. I said I would. She studied him for a moment, then stepped aside. Come in. The interior was nothing like he expected. The walls were covered in children's artwork. Crayon drawings, watercolor paintings, handprint turkeys. A worn couch sat against one wall, patched with duct tape. The carpet was old, but vacuumed. Everything was clean, organized, loved, and loud. Children's voices echoed from somewhere upstairs. Laughter, shouting, the sounds of life. We have 13 kids right now, Patricia said, leading him down a narrow hallway. Ages 5 to 17. Some are here temporarily while family situations get resolved. Others, like Lily, are long-term. How long has Lily been here? 3 years. Since she was 4. Patricia's voice softened. She was so tiny when she arrived. Barely spoke for the first 6 months. Now look at her, standing in traffic to save a puppy. They entered a large room that served as a combination kitchen and dining area. A long table dominated the space, surrounded by mismatched chairs. The refrigerator was covered in spelling tests and report cards. A teenage boy was doing homework at the table. He looked up when they entered, his eyes going wide when he saw Ethan's suit. This is Daniel Bourne, Patricia said. Daniel, this is Mr. Ripley. He's visiting today. Cool suit, Daniel said, then went back to his math homework. Patricia poured 2 cups of coffee from a pot that looked older than Ethan. She handed him one. Sugar's on the table. We're out of cream. He took it black. I won't give you the sob story tour, Patricia said, sitting down across from him. You want to see the facility? Fine. But I'm not going to parade my kids in front of you like there's some charity case for you to feel good about. That's not why I'm here. Then why are you here, Mr. Ripley? He met her eyes. Because I made a decision that hurt people. Real people. And I want to make it right. Money doesn't make everything right. I know, but it's a start. Patricia sipped her coffee, watching him over the rim of her mug. You know what these kids need more than money? They need stability. Consistency. They need people who show up and stay. Not write a check and disappear. I understand. Do you? She set down her mug. Because I've had plenty of corporate donors come through here with their big hearts and bigger checkbooks. They take pictures, they make promises, and then they vanish. And you know what that does to a kid who's already been abandoned? It reinforces everything they believe about themselves, that they're not worth sticking around for. The words landed like a gut punch. Mr. Ripley. Lily's voice rang out as she burst into the kitchen. Daisy, wearing a small cast on her leg, limping along beside her. The puppy's tail was wagging despite the injury. "You came." Lily threw her arms around his waist before he could react. "Look, Dr. Connors said Daisy could come home today. Isn't it amazing?" Ethan looked down at the little girl clinging to him, at the puppy with its wagging tail, at Patricia watching him with skeptical eyes. And he realized something terrifying. He didn't want to write a check and leave. He wanted to stay. But staying meant something he hadn't done in years. It meant being vulnerable, being present, being human. 3 more children thundered into the kitchen, curiosity written all over their faces. They stopped when they saw Ethan, suddenly shy. "Everyone, this is Mr. Ripley," Patricia said. "He helped Lily and Daisy yesterday." A little boy, maybe 6 years old, stepped forward. "Are you a superhero?" And Ethan Ripley, billionaire, CEO, man who'd forgotten how to feel, laughed. Actually laughed. "No," he said. "I'm definitely not a superhero." "Then why'd you save Daisy?" the boy asked. Ethan looked at Lily, who was beaming up at him. "Because someone needed help," he said simply. "And I was there." The boy seemed satisfied with this answer and ran off. The other children followed, their interest already moving on to the next thing. But Lily stayed, holding Daisy carefully. "Will you visit again?" It was Patricia who answered. "Mr. Ripley is very busy, Lily. He has important work to do." But Ethan was already shaking his head. "I'll visit again," he said, looking at Patricia. "If that's okay." Patricia's expression was unreadable. "We'll see." It wasn't permission, but it wasn't a no either. Ethan did visit again, and again. Over the next 2 weeks, he became a strange fixture at Sunshine Haven. He'd show up after work, sometimes still in his suit, sometimes having changed into jeans that looked too new, too expensive. He helped with homework. He fixed a leaky faucet in the upstairs bathroom. He sat through dinner with 13 kids who asked him endless questions about everything from why rich people existed to whether he'd ever met Spider-Man. Patricia watched him with those careful eyes, always assessing, never quite trusting. But the kids were warming to him, especially Lily. She'd attach herself to him like a shadow, showing him Daisy's progress, introducing him to her favorite stuffed animals, asking him to read bedtime stories. And Ethan, who hadn't read a bedtime story in his entire life, found himself doing voices for characters and making Lily giggle so hard she got the hiccups. On a rainy Wednesday evening, 2 weeks after that first visit, everything changed. Ethan was in Patricia's cramped office, barely bigger than a closet, going over financial statements. He brought his CFO's analysis of what it would take to fully fund the shelter's operations for the next 5 years. "This is too much," Patricia said, staring at the numbers. "It's what you need. No one gives this kind of money without strings attached." Ethan leaned back in his chair. "The only string is that you let me keep coming around. Let me help. Not just with money, with whatever you need." Patricia's eyes narrowed. "Why? And don't give me some corporate responsibility speech. What's really going on here?" Before he could answer, there was a sharp knock at the door. Daniel Bourne, the teenager who'd been doing homework that first day, stood there, his face pale. "Miss Patricia, you need to come upstairs. Now." The tone in his voice sent ice through Ethan's veins. They followed Daniel up to the second floor, where a crowd of kids had gathered outside one of the bedrooms. Patricia pushed through, and Ethan followed. Inside, a girl of about 16 sat on the bed, her arms wrapped around her knees, rocking back and forth. Her eyes were distant, unfocused. Lily stood nearby, tears streaming down her face, holding Daisy close. "Grace!" Patricia's voice was gentle as she approached the girl. "Honey, what happened?" Grace didn't respond, just kept rocking, her breathing shallow and rapid. Patricia knelt beside her, placing a careful hand on her shoulder. "Someone give me a cold washcloth, and clear the room. Give her some space." The kids scattered. Ethan started to leave, but Patricia called out, "Not you. Stay with Lily." He moved to Lily's side, unsure what to do. The little girl was shaking, clutching Daisy so tight the puppy squirmed. "What's wrong with Grace?" Lily whispered. "She's having a hard time right now," Ethan said quietly. "Miss Patricia will help her." "Is she going to be okay?" "Yes." He had no idea if that was true, but the certainty in his voice seemed to calm Lily slightly. Patricia worked with Grace for what felt like hours, but was probably only 20 minutes. Slowly, carefully, she brought the girl back, talking in low, soothing tones, reminding her where she was, that she was safe. Finally, Grace's breathing steadied. Her eyes focused. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "You have nothing to apologize for," Patricia said firmly. "Nothing. You understand me." Grace nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. Patricia helped her lie down, pulled a blanket over her, and stayed until Grace's breathing deepened into sleep. Then she stood, her knees cracking, her face exhausted. She found Ethan in the hallway, Lily asleep in his arms. The little girl had finally crashed from emotional exhaustion, Daisy curled on her lap. "Put her in her room," Patricia said quietly. "Second door on the left." Ethan carried Lily carefully, laying her on a small bed covered with a handmade quilt. Daisy immediately curled up beside her. Patricia pulled the blanket over both of them, kissed Lily's forehead, and gestured for Ethan to follow her out. They ended up in the kitchen. Patricia poured herself a glass of water with shaking hands. "Grace was trafficked," she said without preamble. "For 2 years. We got her out 6 months ago, but the trauma." She closed her eyes. "She has episodes, panic attacks, flashbacks. She needs specialized therapy, medication, constant support, and we can barely afford to keep the lights on. If this is hitting you hard, leave a comment. Sometimes we forget what really matters until we see it up close. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. This story needs to be heard." Ethan felt like he'd been punched. "I didn't know." "Of course you didn't. People like you don't see this. You see budget lines and ROI and efficiency metrics." Patricia's voice cracked. "You don't see Grace, who wakes up screaming 3 times a week. You don't see Marcus, sorry, Daniel, who came here at 14 after his mom's boyfriend put him in the hospital. You don't see Lily, who watched her father die in a car crash and still has nightmares." The words kept coming, each one a hammer blow. "You want to know why I was so angry when you showed up?" Patricia continued. "Because your company's decision to cut our funding meant I had to let go of our trauma counselor. Grace was seeing her twice a week. Now she sees her once a month because that's all we can afford. Do you understand what that means? Do you understand the damage that does?" Ethan's throat was tight. "I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't help Grace sleep through the night." "Then tell me what does. Tell me what you need." Patricia slammed her glass down on the counter. "I need people to care. I need companies to see these kids as human beings, not tax write-offs. I need—" Her voice broke completely. She turned away, her shoulders shaking. Ethan stood there, useless, watching this woman who gave everything crumble under the weight of it all. And then he did something he hadn't done in 7 years. He stepped forward and pulled her into a hug. Patricia stiffened, then suddenly collapsed against him, sobbing into his expensive shirt. Great, heaving sobs that came from somewhere deep and broken. "I can't save them all," she choked out. "I can't. I try so hard and it's never enough." "You're saving them every day," Ethan said, his own voice rough. "Every single day they're here. They're safe because of you. But what about the ones I have to turn away? What about the 15 kids I couldn't take because we don't have funding? Where are they tonight?" He had no answer for that. They stood there in that tiny kitchen, 2 people from completely different worlds, holding each other while the weight of 13 children's futures pressed down on them. Finally, Patricia pulled back, wiping her eyes. "I'm sorry. That was unprofessional." "That was human," Ethan corrected. She looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time since he'd walked into Sunshine Haven. And something shifted in her expression. "You really mean it, don't you? You actually want to help?" "Yes." "Why? Why do you care?" Ethan thought about that morning 2 weeks ago. About a little girl standing in traffic. About a dying puppy. About the moment his entire world had tilted on its axis. "Because Lily asked me if I liked my job," he said quietly. "And I realized I didn't know. I'd spent 15 years building something massive and impressive and completely hollow. And then I watched her stand in the middle of Park Avenue, terrified out of her mind, willing to risk everything for something she loved." He paused. "When was the last time I risked anything for something that mattered?" Patricia was quiet for a long moment. Then, you want to really help? Not just write checks. Yes. Then tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., be here. We're taking the kids to the free clinic for checkups, and we're short on drivers. Think you can handle 3 kids in your fancy car? Ethan smiled. I can handle it. Good. Because this is what helping actually looks like, Mr. Ripley. It's not glamorous. It's not a photo op. It's showing up, day after day, for people who need you. I understand. As he left that night, Ethan passed Grace's room. The door was cracked open. The girl was sitting up in bed, sketching in a notebook by lamplight. She looked up as he passed. Their eyes met. Thank you, she said quietly, for staying. Most people run when things get hard. I'm not running, Ethan said, and he meant it. Outside, rain was falling again. Ethan stood on the steps of Sunshine Haven, letting it soak through his jacket, and realized something terrifying. He was falling in love, not with a person, with a purpose. The clinic trip at 8 a.m. turned into a regular Thursday morning routine. Then came Saturday afternoon basketball games. Sunday morning pancake breakfasts. Ethan found himself at Sunshine Haven nearly every day, his carefully constructed life as a billionaire CEO crumbling around him like sand. His board was not happy. This is becoming a problem, Richard Chun, his CFO, said during an emergency meeting 3 weeks after that first encounter with Lily. You missed 4 board meetings. The Tokyo deal fell through. Whitmore is threatening legal action. And now I'm hearing rumors that you're planning to redirect significant company resources to some children's shelter. Ethan looked around the conference table. 12 faces stared back at him. Some concerned, some angry, all confused. Sunshine Haven needs support, he said calmly. We have the resources to provide it. That's not our mission, Richard snapped. Our shareholders expect returns, not charity work. If you want to donate personally, fine. But you can't use company funds to. I can do whatever I want. I'm the majority shareholder. Not for long if you keep this up. Richard's voice was ice. People are talking, Ethan. They're saying you've lost focus. That you're having some kind of crisis. Do you know what that does to our stock price? To our reputation? I don't care. The room went silent. You don't care? Richard's laugh was bitter. You built this company. You sacrificed everything for it. And now you don't care? I sacrificed the wrong things, Ethan said quietly. And I'm done. He stood, gathering his papers. The funding for Sunshine Haven goes through. If the board has a problem with that, you know where to find me. He walked out, leaving chaos in his wake. That afternoon, Patricia called him. Can you come to the shelter? Now. It's urgent. He was there in 15 minutes. Patricia met him at the door, her face ashen. It's Lily. His heart stopped. What happened? Her aunt showed up, her father's sister. She's been out of the country for 3 years, didn't know about the parents' deaths. And now she wants custody. The world tilted. She can't just. She's blood family, Ethan. She has legal rights. Her lawyers already filed the paperwork. Patricia's voice cracked. Lily's upstairs packing. Ethan took the stairs 2 at a time. Lily's room was chaos. Clothes everywhere. Her stuffed animals lined up on the bed. And Lily in the middle of it all, tears streaming down her face as she tried to fit everything into a small suitcase. Daisy sat by the door, whimpering. Lily, Ethan said softly. She looked up, her face crumpling. I don't want to go. I don't know her. This is my home. He knelt beside her. Tell me about your aunt. I only met her twice. I was really little. She lived in Australia or somewhere far away. Lily's voice was shaking. Miss Patricia says I have to go with her. That it's the law. Where is she taking you? London. She lives in London now. She says it'll be an adventure. Fresh tears spilled over. But what about Daisy? What about Miss Patricia and Daniel and Grace? What about you? The question hit him like a freight train. What about him? He'd known Lily for 3 weeks. 3 weeks in a life that had been carefully planned, carefully controlled, carefully empty. And this little girl had somehow become the center of his entire world. Maybe London will be good, he heard himself say, though the words tasted like ash. Your aunt wants to give you a home. I have a home. Lily sobbed. Here, this is my home. Drop a comment if your heart is breaking right now. And please subscribe, We're all in this together. Downstairs, Patricia was in her office with a woman in her mid-30s. Blonde, polished, wearing designer clothes that probably cost more than Patricia's monthly budget. Mr. Ripley, Patricia said tightly. This is Vanessa Bateman, Lily's aunt. Vanessa extended a manicured hand. Pleasure. Patricia's told me you've been very kind to Lily. She's a remarkable kid, Ethan said, not taking the offered hand. Vanessa's smile didn't waver. I know. I'm devastated I wasn't here when Michael died. I was working overseas, big marketing campaign, couldn't get away. But I'm here now, and I intend to make up for lost time. Lily doesn't want to go. She's 7. She doesn't know what she wants. Vanessa's voice was pleasant but firm. She needs stability, a real family, private schools, opportunities, things a shelter simply can't provide. This shelter has provided her with love and safety for 3 years, and I'm grateful for that. But she's my blood, my responsibility now. Vanessa picked up her purse. I've already arranged enrollment at an excellent school in London. She'll have her own room, tutors, everything she needs. What about what she wants? Patricia's voice was strained. She'll adjust. Children are resilient. Vanessa checked her watch. My flight leaves at 6. We need to go. You're taking her tonight? Ethan's voice was sharp. No point in dragging this out. Quick transitions are easier on everyone. Patricia stood abruptly. I need to say goodbye. Give me 5 minutes. She left the office, her footsteps heavy on the stairs. Ethan stared at Vanessa. You don't really want her, do you? Vanessa's pleasant mask slipped slightly. Excuse me. Lily, you don't actually want her. You want the optics. The grieving aunt who stepped up. The redemption story. Her eyes went cold. You don't know anything about me. I know exactly what you are. Because I was you. 3 weeks ago, I would have made the same calculation. Good PR, tax benefits, a nice story for dinner parties. I'm not having this conversation. Vanessa moved toward the door. She has nightmares, Ethan said, about the car crash, about losing her parents. She wakes up scared and alone, and she needs someone who knows her, who understands. She'll have therapists, the best money can buy. She doesn't need therapists. She needs someone who loves her. Vanessa turned, her expression hard. And you think that's you? Some billionaire who's known her for 3 weeks? Playing house with the poor orphans. The words were designed to wound. They succeeded. At least I see her, Ethan said quietly. At least I know her favorite color is yellow because it reminds her of sunshine. That she reads the same book every night because her dad gave it to her. That she sings when she's nervous and hums when she's happy. Do you know any of that? Vanessa's jaw tightened. I'll learn. Will you? Or will you hire nannies and housekeepers and tutors and never actually be there? This conversation is over. Vanessa's voice was ice. Lily is my family. The courts have already ruled. She's coming with me, and there's nothing you can do about it. She was right. Ethan had billions of dollars. He could buy companies, influence markets, change industries. But he couldn't stop a little girl from being taken from the only home she knew. 30 minutes later, Lily stood in the front hallway of Sunshine Haven, her small suitcase by her feet, Daisy in her arms. All 13 kids were there, crying, hugging her. Grace held her the longest. You're the bravest person I know, Grace whispered. Don't forget that. Patricia knelt down, cupping Lily's face in her hands. You listen to me. You are loved. You are wanted. You are enough. No matter what happens, no matter where you go, you remember that. Lily nodded, unable to speak. Then she turned to Ethan. He'd faced hostile takeovers, cutthroat negotiations, impossible odds. But nothing had prepared him for the look in Lily's eyes. Will you visit me? She asked, her voice small. I don't know if I can, he said honestly. The truth was worse than a lie. Her face crumpled. You promised. You said you'd stay. Lily, you promised. She was sobbing now. Everyone leaves. Everyone. And you said you were different. Vanessa's hand landed on Lily's shoulder. Time to go, sweetheart. No. Lily clutched Daisy tighter. I won't go. You can't make me. But Vanessa could, and did. She physically lifted Lily, carrying her toward the waiting car while the little girl screamed and fought. Ethan stood frozen, useless, watching the girl who'd changed his entire world being ripped away. The last thing he saw was Lily's face pressed against the car window, her hand reaching toward him as the vehicle pulled away into the gray afternoon. Then she was gone. And Ethan Ripley, billionaire, CEO, man who'd learned to care, stood on the steps of Sunshine Haven and realized he'd just lost everything that mattered. Ethan didn't leave Sunshine Haven that night. He sat in Patricia's office, staring at nothing, while the sounds of grieving children echoed through the building. Grace had locked herself in her room. Daniel was punching a pillow in the common area. The younger kids kept asking when Lily was coming back. Patricia finally appeared in the doorway around midnight, 2 mugs of coffee in her hands. She handed him one and sat down across from him. "You can't save them all," she said quietly. "I learned that a long time ago. It'll destroy you if you try." "I didn't even try," Ethan said, his voice hollow. "I just stood there and watched her get taken. What else could you have done? Something. Anything." He set down the coffee, untouched. "I have billions of dollars, an entire legal team, connections, influence, and I couldn't stop one woman from taking a terrified child to another country." Patricia was quiet for a long moment. Then, "You really love her, don't you?" "Lily." The word hung in the air between them. Love. He'd spent 3 weeks with her. Read her bedtime stories. Fixed her broken toys. Listened to her endless chatter about everything and nothing. Watched her face light up when he walked through the door. "Yes," he said simply. "I love her. I know the feeling." Patricia's eyes were distant. "Every kid who walks through that door takes a piece of my heart when they leave. Some go to good families. Some don't. And I lie awake at night, wondering if they're okay, if they're safe, if they remember they're loved." "How do you survive it?" "By showing up the next day. By loving the next kid who needs it. By believing that even temporary love is better than no love at all." She leaned forward. "Ethan, you did something good here. You showed Lily that she matters, that she's worth someone's time and care. That will stay with her forever, even if you can't. It's not enough. It never is. But it's something." Ethan's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Stop calling. Stop texting. Lily needs space to adjust. This is harassment. Any further contact, and I'll file a restraining order." Vanessa Bateman. He'd sent 12 texts and called 8 times. Vanessa hadn't answered once. He showed Patricia the message. She sighed. "She can't actually file a restraining order for that. But she can make your life hell if she wants to. And more importantly, she can make Lily's life hell. So what do I do? Just forget her?" "No. You figure out what's really going on." Patricia pulled out her laptop. "Give me 20 minutes. 15 minutes later, Patricia turned her laptop around. Vanessa Bateman, age 36, marketing executive for a luxury brand. Recently divorced, no kids. Social media is very active. Lots of posts about her fabulous life, traveling, exclusive events." Patricia scrolled down. And here's the interesting part. 3 weeks ago, she posted about how empty her life felt, how she needed meaning and purpose. Ethan leaned in, reading the caption. "Sometimes success isn't enough. Maybe it's time for a new chapter. Hashtag blessed, hashtag family first, hashtag new beginnings." Posted 2 days before she contacted family services about Lily, Patricia said, "Want to know what I think? I think she's having her own crisis. She's turning 40 soon, her marriage failed, and suddenly she remembers she has a niece. A ready-made redemption story. She's using Lily to feel better about herself. Maybe, or maybe she genuinely wants to do the right thing and has no idea what that actually looks like." Patricia closed the laptop. Either way, Lily's the one who suffers. Ethan stood, suddenly energized. "I need to make a call. Ooh, someone who specializes in impossible situations." At 2 a.m., Ethan was on a video call with Margaret Shepard, one of the country's top family law attorneys. She looked remarkably alert for the middle of the night. "Let me be clear," Margaret said. "You have no legal standing. You're not family, not a guardian, not even a long-term caretaker. You knew the child for 3 weeks. There has to be something. There isn't. Unless you can prove Vanessa Bateman is unfit. Abuse, neglect, substance issues, the courts will always favor blood relatives. Always." Ethan's heart sank. "However," Margaret continued, and he looked up sharply, If someone with standing were to raise concerns about the child's welfare, someone like the shelter director who's cared for her for 3 years, that might warrant investigation. Patricia, who'd been listening from across the room, straightened. What kind of investigation? Family Services would do a home study, interview the child, assess whether the placement is in her best interest. If there are concerns, significant concerns, they could delay the relocation pending further review. How much time would that buy us? Ethan asked. Weeks, maybe months. But Mr. Ripley, I need to be honest. Unless something major changes, Lily will end up with her aunt. The system is designed that way. After the call ended, Ethan and Patricia sat in heavy silence. We can't win this, Patricia finally said. No, but we can buy time. And maybe in that time. What? Vanessa suddenly realizes she's in over her head. Lily convinces her to come back. A miracle happens. Maybe. Ethan met her eyes. Or maybe we find another way. There is no other way. There's always another way. I just have to find it. Comment below if you believe Ethan can still fix this. And if you haven't subscribed, now's the time. This story is about to take a turn you won't see coming. The next morning, Ethan was back at his office for the first time in a week. Jennifer nearly fell out of her chair when she saw him. Mr. Ripley, thank God. The board has called 3 emergency meetings and... Get Richard Chin in here. Now, 5 minutes later, his CFO stormed in, red-faced. Where the hell have you been? Do you have any idea what you've done to this company? Our stock is down 18%. We've lost 2 major clients. And the board is talking about a vote of no confidence. Good, Ethan said calmly. Good? Have you lost your mind? Probably. Ethan opened a folder. Here's what's going to happen. I'm stepping down as CEO, effective immediately. Richard's jaw dropped. What? I'm maintaining my majority shares, but operational control goes to you. You've wanted my job for years. Congratulations, it's yours. This is insane. You can't just. I can and I am. There's one condition. Ripley Technologies will create a foundation. Initial funding of $50 million. Annual contributions of $20 million. Dedicated entirely to supporting child welfare organizations, starting with Sunshine Haven. The board will never approve. The board doesn't have a choice. I'm the majority shareholder. They can accept it, or I'll liquidate my shares and tank the company's value. Their call. Richard stared at him like he'd grown a second head. Why are you doing this? Because I finally figured out what matters. Ethan stood, extending his hand. The company's yours, Richard. Try not to ruin it. He walked out of his office, past his confused assistant, into the elevator. And for the first time in 15 years, he felt completely free. But freedom meant nothing if Lily was still gone. His phone rang. Patricia. Ethan, you need to see this. Her voice was strange. Vanessa just posted on social media. He pulled it up on his phone. The post was a photo, Lily sitting in what looked like a hotel room, Daisy beside her, both looking miserable. The caption read, Day 1 with my beautiful niece in London. Adjustment period is tough, but we'll get through it together. Hashtag anti-life, hashtag family first, hashtag new chapter. The comments were brutal. Why does that kid look miserable? This feels fake. Anyone else think this is a PR stunt? And then, at the bottom, one comment that made Ethan's blood run cold. That's Lily from Sunshine Haven. I volunteer there. She was happy before you took her. The post had been shared 43 times. And counting. Ethan smiled. Vanessa wanted a story? She was about to get one. Just not the one she expected. The story exploded overnight. Someone had screenshotted Vanessa's post and shared on Reddit. Then Twitter. Then TikTok. By morning, hashtag Bring Lily Home was trending. News outlets were picking it up. A reporter from the New York Times called Patricia for comment. Ethan watched it all unfold from his penthouse, his phone buzzing nonstop. But it was the video that changed everything. Grace, shy, traumatized Grace, had recorded something on her phone and posted it to social media. Her hands were shaking as she filmed, but her voice was steady. My name is Grace Sullivan. I live at Sunshine Haven. 3 days ago, my best friend Lily was taken from us. She didn't want to go. She was screaming and crying and begging to stay. And we all just watched it happen because some stranger who shares her DNA decided she wanted to play parent. Grace's voice cracked. Lily saved my life. When I came to Sunshine Haven 6 months ago, I couldn't talk, couldn't sleep, couldn't function. And this 7-year-old girl sat with me every single day. She'd read to me, bring me snacks, tell me stupid jokes until I finally smiled. She made me believe I could be okay again. Tears were streaming down Grace's face now. And now she's gone, taken to another country by someone who doesn't know that she has nightmares, that she needs her nightlight on, that she hums the same song her dad used to sing when she's scared. Someone who posted a picture of Lily's pain for likes and sympathy. The video ended with Grace looking directly into the camera. If you care about kids, if you believe children deserve to be with people who actually love them, please share this. Please help us bring Lily home. The video had 2 million views in 12 hours. And then Ethan's phone rang. Unknown number from London. Hello, Mr. Ripley. Vanessa's voice was tight with rage. Call off your attack dogs. Now, I didn't start this. Your social media post did. That video was emotional manipulation. These people don't know the whole story. Then tell it. Do an interview. Explain why you took a traumatized child from the only stable home she's known. Explain why you posted her suffering for internet points. Silence. Then, you have no idea what you've done. My employers are getting calls. My friends are being harassed. Someone threw paint on my car. That's terrible, Ethan said, meaning none of it. How's Lily doing? More silence. Put her on the phone, Ethan said. Absolutely not. Then I'll tell every reporter calling me that you're isolating a 7-year-old from everyone she loves, that you won't let her speak to anyone from her previous life. Let's see how that plays in the press. He heard Vanessa's sharp intake of breath, then muffled voices. Then, Mr. Ripley? Lily's small voice shattered him. Hey, kiddo, how are you doing? I want to come home. Her voice was thick with tears. Please, I hate it here. The apartment is cold and Aunt Vanessa is always on her phone, and she put Daisy in a crate because she's not properly trained and she dissolved into sobs. Lily, listen to me. Are you okay? Are you safe? I guess. But I'm not happy. I'll never be happy here. In the background, Vanessa's voice. That's enough. Give me the phone. I love you, Lily, Ethan said quickly. We're working on bringing you home. I promise. You promised before. The line went dead. Ethan sat there, phone in hand, rage and helplessness warring in his chest. Then he made another call. 48 hours later, Ethan was on a plane to London with Patricia, Margaret Shepard the attorney, and a family services representative named Carol Martinez. Margaret had worked a miracle. Using the social media firestorm, Grace's testimony, and statement from child psychologists about the trauma of sudden displacement, she'd gotten a judge to order an emergency welfare check. They landed at Heathrow at 6 a.m. By 9 a.m., they were standing outside Vanessa's flat in Notting Hill. Vanessa opened the door, her face haggard. No muck-up, hair uncombed. The polished marketing executive was gone, replaced by someone who looked exhausted and overwhelmed. You can't be here, she said, but there was no fight in her voice. We have a court order, Carol said gently, showing the paperwork. We need to speak with Lily. Alone. Vanessa's shoulders slumped. She stepped aside. The apartment was beautiful, modern, expensive, pristine, and completely unsuitable for a 7-year-old. Everything was white or glass. No toys, no color, no life. They found Lily in a bedroom at the end of the hall. She was sitting on a bed that was too big, in a room that was too empty, with Daisy in a crate by the wall. Lily, Patricia said softly. The little girl's head snapped up. For a moment, she just stared. Then she screamed, Ms. Patricia, and launched herself across the room. Patricia caught her, holding her tight, while Lily sobbed into her shoulder. Ethan knelt beside them, and Lily reached for him too, one arm around Patricia, one around Ethan. You came, she kept saying. You came. You came. Of course we came, Ethan said, his own eyes burning. I promised I'd stay, remember? Carol conducted the interview while Vanessa waited in the living room. Lily was honest, painfully so. Yes, Vanessa fed her. No, she wasn't mean, but she was always working, always stressed. She didn't know how to braid hair or make grilled cheese or read bedtime stories with the right voices. She's trying, Lily said, with the kind of generosity that broke Ethan's heart. But she doesn't really want me. She wants the idea of me. If you're crying right now, you're not alone. Drop a comment and let me know you're still with us. And please subscribe. We're almost at the end. The meeting with Vanessa was brutal in its honesty. I thought I could do this, Vanessa said, her voice hollow. I thought it would fill the emptiness. I thought, she broke down. I don't know what I thought. I just knew I was turning 40 and divorced and alone, and suddenly I had this chance to be someone's hero. Lily doesn't need a hero, Patricia said quietly. She needs someone who sees her, who knows her, who loves her enough to put her needs first. Vanessa looked at Ethan. She talks about you constantly. Mr. Ripley does voices when he reads. Mr. Ripley fixed my toy. Mr. Ripley promised. Her smile was sad. You already love her. I can see it. More than anything, Ethan said. Then take her home. Vanessa's voice cracked. I'll sign whatever papers. Do whatever needs to be done. Just make sure she's happy. Margaret stepped forward with documents already prepared. Vanessa signed them all. Temporary custody transfer to Patricia, agreement not to contest permanent placement, everything. When it was done, Lily was released into Patricia's care. They booked a flight home that afternoon. As they waited at the gate, Lily sat between Ethan and Patricia, Daisy in her lap. Am I really going home? She asked, like she couldn't quite believe it. You're really going home, Patricia confirmed. Lily looked up at Ethan. Are you coming too? Every day, he promised. If you'll have me. Forever. Ethan glanced at Patricia, who was watching him with careful eyes. They hadn't talked about the future, about what his presence at Sunshine Haven meant, about how a billionaire fit into their world. But Patricia nodded slightly. Permission. Trust. Forever. Ethan said. Lily threw her arms around him. I love you, Mr. Ripley. The words hit him like lightning. I love you too, Lily. And Ethan Ripley, former CEO, former workaholic, former man who'd never let himself feel anything, held a 7-year-old girl in an airport and finally understood what his life had been missing. Purpose, connection, love. 3 months later, Sunshine Haven looked completely different. Fresh paint covered the exterior, still yellow, but brighter now. New windows let in streams of natural light. The kitchen had been renovated with modern appliances. Every bedroom had been updated with new beds, desks, and colorful decorations chosen by the kids themselves. But the biggest change wasn't the building. It was the people inside it. Ethan stood in the common room on a Saturday afternoon, watching chaos unfold with a smile on his face. Daniel was teaching 3 younger kids how to code on the new computers. Grace was curled up on the refurbished couch, reading to Lily and 2 other girls. A group of kids were playing basketball in the newly paved court outside, their laughter echoing through the open windows. Daisy, fully healed now, was running between everyone, her tail wagging constantly, stealing snacks and affection wherever she could find them. You're smiling, Patricia said, appearing beside him with 2 cups of coffee. It's still weird to see. Ethan took the offered cup. I smile now. You'll have to get used to it. I'm trying. It's just very different from the angry billionaire who showed up here 3 months ago. That guy was miserable. And this guy. Ethan looked around the room, at the kids he now knew by name, their stories, their dreams. At Grace, who was thriving in trauma therapy now that they could afford regular sessions. At Daniel, who'd been accepted to 3 colleges with full scholarships. At Lily, who still had nightmares sometimes but woke up knowing she was safe, knowing she was home. This guy is happy, he said simply. Patricia's expression softened. You know the kids are planning something for tonight, right? Planning what? You'll see. Just be here at 6. She walked away before he could ask more questions. At 6 o'clock sharp, Lily appeared and grabbed his hand. Come on, everyone's waiting. She dragged him to the dining room, where all 13 kids were gathered around the long table. The lights were dimmed. Candles flickered on a homemade cake that looked slightly lopsided but was decorated with careful precision. Surprise! They all shouted. Ethan stood there, confused. It's not my birthday. We know, Daniel said, grinning. It's your 3-month anniversary. My what? 3 months since you stopped for Lily, Grace explained. 3 months since you came into our lives. We want to celebrate." Ethan's throat went tight. Patricia appeared with plates and a knife. They planned this whole thing themselves. I was just the supervisor. The kids started talking all at once, sharing their favorite memories from the past 3 months. Remember when Mr. Ripley tried to cook pancakes and set off the fire alarm? Or when he played basketball with us and Daniel totally destroyed him? He fixed my laptop when I thought it was dead forever. He helped me with my college essays. Lily climbed onto a chair, so she was at eye level with Ethan. And he saved Daisy. And he saved me. And he keeps saving us every single day. The room went quiet. "I didn't save anyone," Ethan said, his voice rough. "You all saved me." And he meant it. These kids, with their resilience, their hope, their capacity to love despite everything they'd been through, had shown him what really mattered. They'd taken a man who'd measured his worth in dollars and taught him to measure it in moments, in hugs, in laughter, in showing up. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you've been with us this whole journey, thank you. Please subscribe so you never miss another story like this. They ate cake and played games until the younger kids started yawning. Patricia began the bedtime routine, and Ethan helped tuck in the little ones. When he got to Lily's room, she was already in bed with Daisy curled beside her. "Story time?" she asked hopefully. "Always," Ethan said, settling into the chair beside her bed. He picked up her favorite book, the one her father had given her, and began to read. Halfway through, Patricia appeared in the doorway. She leaned against the frame, watching, a strange expression on her face. When Lily finally fell asleep, Ethan carefully extracted himself and followed Patricia downstairs to her office. "We need to talk," she said, closing the door behind them. His stomach dropped. "That sounds ominous." Patricia sat down, then gestured for him to do the same. "The foundation you created, it's incredible. The money you've donated has completely transformed not just Sunshine Haven, but 6 other shelters across the city. You've funded programs, hired staff, changed lives. I hear a but coming. But you're here almost every day. You read bedtime stories, help with homework, drive kids to appointments, fix broken things, show up for every school event and basketball game in crisis." She paused. "Ethan, you're not just a donor anymore. You're family." His heart was hammering. "Is that a problem?" "No. It's just, we need to define what this is. What you want it to be." Ethan had been thinking about this for weeks. About what his life looked like now versus what it had been. About where he belonged. "I want to be here," he said quietly. "Not as a donor. Not as a volunteer. As someone who belongs. Someone these kids can count on. They already count on you. Then make it official. Let me..." He paused, not sure how to say what he was thinking. "I stepped down as CEO. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. And I have nothing else I'd rather do than be here. With these kids. With you. Building something that actually matters." Patricia was quiet for a long moment. "You want to work here?" "Full time. If you'll have me." "Ethan, you're a billionaire. You could do anything, be anywhere. And I choose here. I choose this." He leaned forward. "Patricia, 3 months ago I was empty. Successful and impressive and completely hollow. And then a little girl stood in traffic with a dying puppy and asked me if I could save her." His voice cracked. "She saved me. You all did. And I don't want to go back to that life. I can't." Patricia's eyes were bright with tears. "The board would have to approve it. It's not just my decision. I'll wait. I'll prove myself. Whatever it takes." She smiled then, really smiled. "The board meets next week. I'll put it to a vote. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. 13 kids are about to become your full-time responsibility. You have no idea what you're signing up for." Ethan laughed. "I think I have some idea." The vote was unanimous. Ethan joined the staff of Sunshine Haven as Director of Operations and Youth Mentorship. The salary was a fraction of what he used to make. The hours were longer. The work was harder. And he'd never been happier. 6 months after that first morning, after a little girl in a yellow raincoat had stood in traffic and changed his entire world, Ethan sat on the front steps of Sunshine Haven watching the sunset. Lily came out and plopped down beside him, Daisy between them. "What you thinking about?" she asked. "How lucky I am." She considered this. Miss Patricia says you make your own luck. By choosing to be brave. Is that what I did? Be brave? Uh-huh. You were scared, but you stopped anyway. That's what brave means. She leaned against him. I'm glad you stopped, Mr. Ripley. Me too, kiddo. Me too. They sat in comfortable silence as the sky turned pink and gold. Inside, the sounds of home echoed. Kids arguing over what movie to watch, Patricia calling everyone to dinner, someone's music playing too loud. It wasn't perfect. There were still hard days, still struggles, still moments of heartbreak when funding fell through, or a kid left, or the weight of it all felt too heavy. But it was real. It was meaningful. It was love. And for Ethan Ripley, former CEO, reformed workaholic, man who'd learned to stop measuring his worth in dollars, that was everything. Lily tugged on his sleeve. Dinner's ready. Race you inside. You're on. They ran toward the door, Daisy barking and chasing after them. And Ethan felt something he hadn't felt in 15 years. He felt like he was exactly where he belonged. Finally, home. Thank you so much for being here for this entire journey. If this story moved you, please leave a comment below telling me which part hit you hardest. And don't forget to subscribe. I have so many more stories to share with you. Until next time, remember, sometimes the smallest acts of kindness lead to the biggest changes. You never know whose life you might save just by stopping, by seeing, by caring. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next story.